Hey everybody, hey, it's Carm here. Back after quite a while, I guess at least a month. For those of you who watched my last 3 videos, footage shot in Arizona, or was for a good deal of that time. And yeah, thank you all for watching and commenting on those. It was a little different, but yeah, just a beautiful place. I was grateful to be, and wanted to share some of that. I've actually been back for almost 2 weeks now, but just been kind of slow to get back online. I wasn't really on much at all out there. I just did a lot of hiking and spending time with my friends and listening to music and read, and just just took it real simple, and settling in back here, and just glad to be back. Found quite a few things out there, books, music, little things here and there. So yeah, I'll start right in with the books I found. I'll go through these kind of quick. 7 Dirty Words, Life and Crimes of George Carlin. Actually reading this right now. Excellent biography, about halfway through. This actually isn't the bookstore that I got it from, but this is a place that I've been going for quite a few years. You can see the subject matter there, kind of stuff I'm into, in the town that I stayed the majority of the time in. But yeah, it's been really good so far. Old favorite. Timothy Leary, Jail Notes. Stuff he wrote while he was actually in prison for a time. I haven't really got into this yet though, but another fascinating figure. Initiation in the Great Pyramid, Erlene Cheney. I have something else by her, kind of a more general book, but interesting to see what this goes into. Quite a explorer of inner space, another one of those. This book I got from the bookmark I showed you, the Adventures Unlimited, A Liquid Conspiracy, JFK, LSD, the CIA, Area 51, and UFOs, all in one book. So it should be quite interesting and colorful. It's a great place. I think it's actually based in Southern Illinois. Sedona, UFO Connection. Sedona, where that first video that I put up, the footage of, place very near and dear to my heart for many years, and still felt a long-time connection to it. Breeze swept through. Lucy Topahanso. She's a Native American poet. It looked kind of nice. I browsed through it a little bit. It's pretty nice stuff. Art of the Native American Flute, R. Carlos Nakai and James DeMars. He's a longtime favorite of mine, musician. Is actually an inspiration to take up the flute, Native American flute. Over the years I've collected several of them from that area, from Sedona, and learned to play from listening to him a lot, and now with this I can get a little more, maybe a little more technical, the sheet music, and has a little history of him playing, and maybe little anecdotes, and also albums, a little synopsis of his album. So a very nice introduction to him, as far as the reading is concerned. This is that place at Adventures Unlimited. This is their catalog for those interested in these subjects. And yeah, it's based in Kempton, Illinois, several hours south of here. So one of these days, do like a road trip. There's just a whole slew of different titles. They have videos, all kinds of stuff. But it's neat that they have that location in this little town in central Arizona. Who would have thought? And finally here, for the books, The Art of Talk, Art Bell. Best known as a radio host, hosted a show called Coast to Coast. She covered a variety of topics, paranormal, conspiracies, and so forth. It's kind of a little, kind of autobiographical, kind of snapshot of him, kind of a shorter one of him, but yeah, I couldn't resist this one. Well, on to the music here. I found quite a few CDs, some tapes and some records, but a lot of CDs, mostly at this place called Bookman's. Robert Z, if you're watching, you know what I'm talking about. It's kind of like half-price books, only a larger version. There's one in Flagstaff, which is up north, which is where I went to. There's a few, and maybe a couple in Phoenix and some in Tucson. So this first one here, Al Gromer Khan and Kai Toshner. Al Gromer, probably better known as he was with Popol Vuh, I think in the early days for a few albums. Sitar and synthesizer player. It says kind of like a, I guess maybe Sufi-inspired, almost like belly dance music. My friend did pointed out it kind of had that sound to it. And it does, very Middle Eastern space music. William Ackerman, Conferring with the Moon. Acoustic guitar, Windham Hill with ensemble. It's a pretty nice one I didn't have by him. One of my all-time favorites. Desert in Between, Steve Roach and Brian Parnham. So it's kind of an electroacoustic synthesizer with kind of tribal percussion and didgeridoo. I guess you could say it's like a meeting of the ancient and the modern. Very beautiful. Eric Volo, Traces. He's a Norwegian electronic musician. I think Chris, John Coltrane Chris, has showed something, an original vinyl. It might be this album, actually. You could tell me for sure, but yeah, he's someone who's still around today, and he's actually collaborated a fair amount with Steve Roach himself. So, yeah, very nice electronic soundscapes, sequencer-based, kind of a haunting, quirky soundscape, very enjoyable. Originally from 1985, and this was, I think, reissued around 2010 or 2012, I want to say. Fairly recently. Yeah, 2010. So yeah, Eric Volo. This one I surprisingly didn't have, though I've been a long-time fan. Mike Oldfield, Incantations. My all-time favorite of his is Omadon. And in reverse order, I like Tubular Bells and Hergest Ridge, of course, but I hadn't heard this one before, and it's quite nice. Kind of where the last one left off. It's probably in some ways a little more grandiose. Give it one listen. I actually listened to this coming down the mountain from Flagstaff. You go up about, well, Sedona's about 4,300 feet in elevation. Flagstaff has got to be close to maybe around 7,000 feet in elevation, so you're just going up this. I was coming back down and listening to this, and it was so fitting. I swear, a few times it seemed like the music and the scenery were changing concurrently. It was really, really beautiful. It was just great moments there. Drone Zone by Kay Gardner. I know Chris is also a huge fan of hers, and I like her music a lot too. I have some of her early LPs. This is her on mostly woodwinds like flutes and ocarina, playing with a variety duets, mostly with there's one with or a couple with tambura, didgeridoo, other kinds of percussion, but it's basically just her playing over various drones, and talks a lot in the notes pretty extensively about drones and the origins and how they lend themselves to healing and just expansion of consciousness. So very nice. Keith Jarrett, Charlie Hayden, Last Dance. This might have been the last thing to come out. I believe this came out posthumously after Charlie's passing. Beautiful duets. They did an album called Jasmine, recorded I think at around the same time. These are more explorations between the two of them. Yeah, just beautiful piano and bass. Just sublime stuff. Pat Metheny, The Orchestrion Project. Kind of seems like all I did was buy CDs out there, picked up here and there. This is a really nice a live version of his, did an album called Orchestrion, which it would take a long time to explain what it's all about, but I would look up Pat Metheny Orchestrion. Fascinating techniques behind this album, how he just put it all together and got all the instruments together, but it's a long story, but just a really he's always coming up with something new. He's a longtime favorite and a personal favorite of mine since, early high school. Inkuyo, Pachacuti, The Overturning of Space-Time. It's kind of a Peruvian, Incan panpipe, flutes, charango percussion group. Been around since, at least since the mid to late 80s. They have a couple others by them. This is a little more recent, 2007. Very nice stuff. If you like the kind of South American thing, it's very, has a kind of light, peppy feel to it, but also atmospheric at the same time. See a couple more on the CDs here. Kenny Barron, Dave Holland, The Art of Conversation. Another nice duet album, piano and bass. Two of, the all-time masters here. Impulse. Yeah, most of these CDs I must have got for between like $3 and $8. Only a couple were a little more, but it was great finding them at the right places. And one more, Dave Holland, Prism. This came out, I think, a couple of years ago, 2012 maybe, toward 2013. It's almost like a fusion. It's like Kevin Eubanks on guitar, electric guitar. Yeah, Eric Harlan drums, Craig Tiborn, piano Fender Rhodes. Yeah, beautiful. The first cut, The Watcher, is really, really heavy. But, yeah, very enjoyable. Still a very vibrant artist and musicians. Actually, what's playing in the background, if you could hear it, Danny Hines, One Heart Wild. I actually got this in the mail when I got back. It's from 1990 on Silver Wave Records. And, a guitar player. And if you can hear in the background, Paul McCandless is playing on saxophone on this one. Michael Manring's also on it on bass, and Will Kennedy on drums. So, yeah, very nice stuff. And onto a few cassettes here. So got this from Bookman's. Tangerine Dream, Turn of the Tides. This is our early 90s version of them. Pretty nice stuff. Representative of the time. Now this next one, I'd have to say, it was the find of the entire trip, music-wise. I was just blown away by this. Only $2, I think it was. The Tale of a Musician. Didn't realize exactly who it was until I got back to my friend's house and looked at it. I don't know how well you can see that. By William Eaton. Again, another one that Chris, I know he knows. He has the first album, I think his original, Music by William Eaton. He's a guitar builder, designer and builder for many years, and guitar player. And about as private press as it gets. No label name there. If you've heard his first album, it's very much in that same vein, maybe slightly more experimental at times, but just wonderful stuff. Really happy to find this, and totally surprised, didn't even know about it. And I believe he's a native Arizonan. He might be based in Tucson, but yeah, just a fantastic find, and I listened to it several times out there and a few times here, and it just, I could just spin it over and over. It's just wonderful. The Holy Instant, Guided Experiences from A Course in Miracles. I've had the book for a while, and it's a difficult read, A Course in Miracles, but beautiful spiritual sentiments. Stephen Halpern, mainly got it also for him, and Beverly Hutchinson voice. She reads passages from the book, and he accompanies her on synthesizers, electric piano. So very nice. And finally, for the tapes, the Rajneesh Mystery School, Art of Happiness. I've only listened to just a tiny bit of this, kind of like some of his teachings set to music, to delve into it a little more. All these tapes were like only $2 or $3, mostly at the same place. And now finally, onto the vinyl. Didn't find a ton of vinyl, and nothing really earth-shattering, but it was, I usually don't find much out there vinyl-wise. I find it on other formats, but found some fun stuff here. While I was out there, Leonard Nimoy passed. I think I only had a few days left out there and learned of his passing. But I had actually bought this about a week before that, or a week and a half before that maybe. Star Trek, It's a children's record. Original stories for children inspired by Star Trek on Peter Pan Records. So I add to my, I think I only have 5 or 6 45s or 7 inches in general. So pretty nice. It's made around the time of the movie, when the movie came out in the late 70s. So it's pretty fun. And a few others here. Almond Dual 2 Hijack. Quite surprised to find this. This was actually in an antique store, a rather large one that a friend of my friend who was staying with brought me to. We both have a interest in antiques, but of course I went for the records. I'm only familiar with a couple of other albums. This kind of sounded like, I don't know, maybe they were trying to make more of an accessible record. I only gave it one listen, and it was okay. I mean, I didn't like it as much as their first one, which I got a little while back. But I'll have to dive into it more. This is on Atco Records. So yeah, I have to give it more listens. I was happy finding this one on vinyl. It's not in the greatest shape, but didn't matter. One of my all-time favorites. Tangerine Dream soundtrack to the movie Sorcerer. I think this is even one of their better ones. I mean, I love their mid to late 70s work, or all their 70s in general, really, but this is really a nice... it's an early album where they played shorter pieces, for the sake of the soundtrack, but it was, this has a great atmosphere to it. Now this one, speaking of, Leonard Nimoy again, got this about, a little while before his passing. Two sides of Leonard Nimoy. Thinking of Ron, My Lung Puppy, did a kind of a tribute, Leonard Nimoy tribute, and showed one of his early records. Recorded right around the same time. Yeah, it's pretty funny, and excuse the bell you hear ringing. I have a new cat, actually. He was my grandparents' cat, and they couldn't keep him, so they actually called me while I was out there and asked if I wanted him, and I said, oh, sure. So I got him. There he is. His name's Rocky, so maybe I'll see him at some point. Oh, he's up in the window. But yeah, this record's, it's pretty fun, it might not be, everyone's thing, but it's very much of its time, and he kind of half sings, half the songs are sung, half are spoken, and some are in the character of Spock, and the other side is him. You see the various titles there, but yeah, it's fun to have, and certainly not to trivialize it at all, but I mean, I would imagine this, would probably go up in value since his passing. I mean, I got this just a week and a half or two before, so I don't know, but just glad to have it just as a, just as a piece, I guess historical piece now. So yeah, that's my first of his, and see just a couple more here. This one I didn't have on any format. Kataro, Millennia. I think this was a soundtrack to an animated film. This is on Geffen Records from '85. I think it might have been recorded a couple years earlier. He's another one, like Pat Metheny or Ray Lynch, who I've listened to most of my life, and I've heard people play in his style in, I think, an even more intricate way, maybe more interesting way, but a lot of his music, his early music, has really stood the test of time for me, just because it's been with me for so long. And this one's very much in his signature style, very nice and atmospheric, and even playful at times, being the animated soundtrack. So yeah, enjoyable. I'm always glad to find something of his on vinyl. And finally here, someone I had never heard of, Jaroslav, Checking In. I'm guessing he's a Czech sax player. I guess you could say it's kind of a light, kind of disco-y fusion. I gave it one listen. It's okay. I mean, I might warm up to it more. There's a few people I recognized. Jerry Goodman's on here on violin, and no one else that really springs to mind. Pat Rebellet on keyboards. I know him, but yeah, it's decent. I guess it has kind of maybe a Tom Scott feel somewhat. Maybe a little, for lack of a better word, a little cheesier, but it's decent for a few bucks, and just someone I hadn't come across before. So yeah, that's pretty much what I found. I don't think I have it with me. Oh, I do have it here. For those of you who were with me a year ago and saw the video I put up after coming back from Arizona last year, I showed this little red rock heart. Actually, this is a different one. It was a fellow who looked like Doc Severinsen, who I ran into while I was on that trail, Boynton Canyon Trail. Well, when I saw him last year, he just came out of nowhere and handed this to me. Said it was a gift from the Earth Mother, and didn't see him again. Well, I saw him several times on this trail, handing these out to other people. So it just kind of took the mystique out of the first time seeing him, but it was still very special. I can kind of see his pocket was bulging with the little red rock. So I'm guessing he sort of carves these and just hands them out on the trail, which is still very beautiful. So yeah, and well, I offer this to you all as well. Thank you I have some new subscribers I noticed while I was gone, and thank you. Thank you again, everyone who watched these last few videos I put up, and yeah, just glad to be back and getting back in the swing of things slowly. Like I said, I hadn't been on in a while, so kind of getting used to this again. But yeah, hope you're all well, and look forward to catching up with you all more. And until next time, peace, love, and joy.